For 17 years, I was the first one in and the last one out, and it nearly cost me everything. I built that department from 4 people into 43. I earned every promotion. I sat in the corner office I had promised myself when I was young and hungry and full of fire, and I had never felt more invisible in my life. There's a kind of tired that sleep doesn't touch. The kind where you wake at 3 a.m. with your heart hammering over a meeting 2 days away, where your hands tremble opening your inbox, where you've been performing strength for so long you've forgotten what it actually feels like. I'm sharing this not because I found an easy answer, but because I know with quiet certainty that you understand exactly what I'm describing. At this age, we've earned the right to stop pretending. What would it feel like to finally stop? When I was 21, I thought time was infinite. I'd waste 3 hours in pointless meetings and think nothing of it. I'd say yes to 7 projects, because I believed there was always tomorrow to do the things I actually wanted to do. Then, my mother had a stroke. She was 64. 2 weeks later, my father sat across from me at a restaurant and said something I've never forgotten. He said, "I used to think I'd travel when I retired." The moment came when she couldn't remember how to hold my hand. He was crying into his appetizer, and I was pretending to look at my phone. That was 4 years before I quit. I didn't leave immediately, but something in that moment started a quiet arithmetic in my head. If my mother was supposed to have 20 more years, and suddenly time was visibly, undeniably finite, how much time did I actually have? I did the math. Average life expectancy. Subtract sleep. Subtract the 8 hours I gave to the company. Subtract commute. Subtract the time I spent too tired to be present with anyone I loved. The number that remained wasn't a number. It was a countdown. And I was spending it on things that didn't require me to be alive to do them. Algorithms could write the reports. Younger people could attend those meetings. But my time, the actual hours of my specific, unrepeatable existence, was being converted into bonuses I didn't have time to spend, and a title that didn't mean anything to the people I wanted to matter to. Now let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus was my best friend, not work friend. 23 years I knew him. In year 16 of my job, Marcus got divorced. His daughter was 6 and confused about why Daddy had a new apartment without her favorite blanket. He called me one Tuesday night in a voice I'd never heard before. He asked if I could come Saturday morning to help set up her room. I had a client presentation Sunday, early morning. I told him I couldn't. I told him I'd make it the following Saturday instead. The following Saturday, a crisis happened at work. There's always a crisis at that level. I texted him that I had to reschedule. He said okay. He didn't get angry. That was worse than anger. Something between us moved 1 inch closer to broken. Over the next 3 years, I watched Marcus lean harder into his relationship with his daughter because I kept being unavailable. Over 5 years, I watched him build a life that no longer had space for me. He didn't need my 5 minutes between calls. He needed my Saturday morning. One Saturday morning, and I couldn't find it in the calendar I controlled completely. Last year, I called him to grab coffee. We met, and it was kind and hollow. We were the shells of the friendship. He had moved on to people who showed up. This is what nobody tells you about the high-paying job. It doesn't demand pieces of your time. It demands all of your attention. It demands the parts of you that can make other people feel loved. And when you have nothing left to give, relationships don't explode. They evaporate slowly. The people who matter aren't waiting for you to be ready. They're moving on. When I was in my 20s, I worked under a mentor named Derek. He taught me everything: how to think like a leader, how to read a room, how to make people feel like their ideas mattered. He was ruthless and kind in equal measure, and I modeled myself after him completely. 10 years into my own leadership, I realized something. Derek had modeled himself after someone before him. We were all just copies of copies, and every copy was a little more hollow than the original. I watched Derek at a conference. He was in his 60s by then, still sharp, still commanding every room he walked into, and he looked at his phone more than his daughter, who was sitting right next to him, and I realized Derek's success hadn't made him happy. It had made him unavailable. He'd been my template, the person I thought had figured out how to win at life. He'd figured out how to win at work. Those are not the same thing. I started to distrust the entire architecture, the system that says, if you sacrifice enough now, you'll be happy later. If you just reach the next level, just hit the next number. I realized I couldn't trust that promise anymore because I'd been chasing it for 20 years. And every time I reached it, the goalpost moved. Every promotion felt like relief for 30 seconds, and then the hunger came back. Bigger. Hungrier. The people I admired weren't models of how to live. They were warnings. I remember the day everything shifted. It was 2019. The office was bustling. Everyone had their earbuds in. We were all in the same room, and completely alone. I watched a talented woman cry in the bathroom and then come back to her desk and answer emails like her life wasn't falling apart. I watched talented people leave for jobs that paid the same, but at least the commute was shorter. I watched others stay because they couldn't imagine anything else. Then COVID happened. For the first time in 21 years, I worked from home. I thought it would be a disaster. Instead, for 6 weeks, I remembered what mornings felt like. I took breakfast with my father. We sat on the porch. He didn't say much, but he didn't have to. I was there. Actually there. When we went back to the office, I felt it like a door closing, but something had changed. During that pause, I'd felt what I was missing. Everyone around me was half asleep. We were all sleepwalking through our most alert years. We'd built this incredible machine that converted our aliveness into productivity, and we'd all agreed not to talk about the cost. The world told us this was normal. Hustle. Grind. Sleep is for the weak. But the world was also moving in a direction I didn't want to go. It was getting faster, more urgent, more demanding. And I was getting older. The equation was becoming clearer every year. I am spending the most energetic years of my life making someone else's vision profitable. Not wrong, not illegal, just true. The first month after I quit, I didn't know what to do with myself. I woke up at 6:47 a.m. anyway. My body had forgotten how to sleep past that. I sat in my apartment and drank coffee, and my hands were shaking slightly. But not from meetings, from quiet, from possibility. But something else was happening underneath the panic. For the first time in a decade, I finished a book I started, not to optimize my reading, because I wanted to know what happened next. My attention wasn't fractured. For 30 minutes, I wasn't thinking about quarterly goals or email backlogs. I called Marcus. He didn't pick up right away. But he called back an hour later, and his voice had changed. Not completely, but there was something in it. Cautious. The way you sound when someone comes back after leaving. I asked him about his daughter, and then I actually asked about her. He talked for 45 minutes. And I listened. Actually listened. By month 2, I realized something. Peace isn't a vacation. It's when you wake up and there isn't a counterattack forming somewhere in your nervous system when your body doesn't remember how to be afraid. I started to spend time alone, and it didn't feel like isolation. It felt like breathing. And I confused solitude with loneliness for so long. I thought being alone meant something was wrong, but now my hands eventually stopped shaking. People ask me now if I regret it, if I miss it, and the answer is complicated. I don't miss the life, but I miss who I was in it sometimes, the person who had all the answers, the person climbing. But that person was also slowly disappearing. He was just going to keep eroding until there was nothing left but the job, so I walked away from it. Not because the job was evil or the people were bad, not because the money wasn't real. It was all very real, but I couldn't stay in that life and still have a life. Some people think that's quitting. Some people think that's giving up. I think it's the opposite. I think I finally started something. The first 6 months were terrifying, but I had savings and a plan. I took a contract job that paid a third of what I used to make. 15 hours a week. No meetings about the meetings. And the rest of the time was mine. I started having dinner with my father twice a week instead of twice a month. I rebuilt the friendship with Marcus slowly. Saturday mornings became real again. I met his daughter. She's 9 now, and she knows who I am. I don't have the corner office anymore. I have a life where I know my neighbors' names, where I remember what I read, where my hands don't shake in the morning. Some people think I'm happy because I quit, but that's not it. I'm less miserable because I stopped running. And in that stillness, some things that had been buried under the noise started to grow again. I didn't write this for the people who love their jobs. I wrote this for the people who wake up at 3 in the morning with their heart racing, who have a best friend they're slowly losing touch with, who can't remember the last conversation that wasn't about work. I wrote this for the people who are waiting for permission. And I'm telling you, you don't have to wait for the right time. There is no right time. There's only the time you're in right now. You're not alone in thinking about leaving. Millions of high achievers are thinking about it, and they're not living in poverty with regrets. They're just living, which it turns out is enough. The thing about choosing peace is that it costs money and identity and the person other people thought you were. But the money, it was never supposed to buy back time, and you can't buy back time. When I was 21, I thought life got better by accumulating more promotions, more money, more status. Now I think life gets better by subtracting the obligations that aren't yours, subtracting the people who only call when they need something, subtracting the belief that you're only valuable when you're producing. This chapter of your life, whatever age you are, is the one where you get to decide what matters. Not your parents, not your industry, not the people who hired you to be a certain kind of useful. You. I'm not telling you to quit tomorrow. I'm telling you to be honest about what you're trading and whether that trade is still worth it. Your one wild and irreplaceable life doesn't need permission to be lived differently. It just needs you to be brave enough to admit that something has to change. The corner office is still there. They filled my desk 3 weeks after I left. The company's doing fine. I don't regret any of it. But I'm choosing not to regret the years going forward. And that's the thing that's different now. I'm choosing. And in that choice, messy as it is, uncertain as it is, I'm actually alive again. So here's my question for you. What are you trading your one wild life for? And is it still the right trade? If this has made you think about something you've been avoiding, I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment, because you're not alone. If you want to hear more stories about people who chose differently, subscribe, because the question of what matters is one we all have to answer for ourselves. Thanks for listening.